Yay!
Ta-da!
I love that every life starts with "Yay! We
Exactly.
made it! We made it on here!"
It's like we're alive. We're alive.
Yeah.
It's a funny celebration with every one of those. Really cool. So here are two crazy people, by the way.
Yeah. Just
Right?
a tiny bit. Come on.
It's
Not too much. Never too much. A little bit.
a
Yeah.
little
A
tiny
little
bit.
bit. In like small doses so people can still handle it.
Right? I love that. Well said. Exactly. And that's so funny how there's like we acknowledge how being crazy is a gift. And then there's like this level of, okay, that's how different I can be. And it's this unacknowledged like how crazy, how pew, firework different can I allow myself to be, like being alive, being happy. And then it's like, okay, I hit the mark. I can feel the judgments. They feel overwhelming. I'm gonna like stay there or go back.
Mhm.
So, welcome everyone. This is our invitation to how there's so much more possible. There's so much more you could turn up with everything that doesn't fit this reality, and where it's not about changing this world, but about creating a different world. And that's where we all are required. Because if you're still changing the world, you still make this reality relevant and real and use it as a basis to create. But if you go for what else, like, how can I use me with all my colors and nuances and crazy to create something that hasn't existed before? How much more access would you have to all your capacities that might be judged as insane and crazy, might get a label, or might be so different that people cannot even fathom or see it. So, voila.
Yeah. There's a lot in there already. And I
Yeah,
feel like what immediately comes up for me, how much energy we put into controlling that and how much, yeah, just gets like freed if we give up trying to like put a lid on our craziness.
yeah,
um yeah, and how much space that just opens up.
yeah. And you say so much beyond the words on it while you're talking. That's so cool because that's how we all communicate. I mean, for energy first and words second. And that is like, as you say, when I talk, like, oh, you say so much. Yeah, you too. There's like so much in there. Exactly. And it's like, so when I worked in psychiatry in Sweden many, many, many years ago, and I was having people as so-called patients, it's such a weird word, like as though they're patients. And like, just anyway, but that's this reality. Um, People, humanoids, creatures of difference. And so they always like had either a label or I was supposed to give them one. Because the funny thing is, if you I was not allowed to have them leave the psychiatric office without a label. That's like I had to give them some kind of diagnosis. It's like part of the law. That was interesting, right? So I could also I already had the sense there, okay, there is like a lot of like, it's, have to like, not everybody fits some kind of like, almost nobody fits some kind of diagnosis anyway, but then making them fit any kind of
Mhm.
box. And you have to like, okay, let's see, that one, works the most, but it's not really that. It's a strange thing to do. So what I would do is, I was doing so-called neuropsychological testings, which were supposed to then, help you come up with a diagnosis. And I was like, okay, so how can I turn this into something that contributes to the so-called patients? How can I like turn this into something that makes it worth their while and is something that they can benefit from? And so I like, it looked like I was just doing a normal job, but then I turned it into like all the tests where I was showing them, hey, something. It's like if you don't overthink it, what do you know is the correct answer to this exercise or whatever it was about? And so there was like, because I had to go through those tests myself while I was learning them,
Mhm.
it's intelligence tests, IQ tests, and all these other things. And I could feel the stress of trying to perform and trying to, not look as stupid as I thought I was, as we all do. We're like, okay, how can I, brush up this whole thing and not make me look as stupid as I think I am. And so it's like really, really stressful to go through that. So I'm like, how can I make this easier on them? And this whole procedure turned into where I go, oh my God, this is so cool. It's fun. I can learn
Mhm.
something here. It's like an acknowledgement that there's a whole new universe beyond the mind. There's a whole new universe beyond thinking and feeling and emotions and fitting in and being normal. And then when we talked about, okay, the results, I'm like, okay, so where are your resources? How can you use whatever shows
Mhm.
up to create a life that works for you? And this is like part of pragmatic psychology, of course. Pragmatic meaning doing what works. And it's there also, like you say, there's this, I'm allowing myself to be different, but then there's a whole universe available that if we wouldn't worry about being seen as insane or crazy, if that wouldn't be an issue anymore, like we would be off the charts. Like we would
Mhm.
fly with what we're aware of and how we could use it to create money, our bodies, relationships, and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's crazy how much that is like. Okay, first of all, like you're saying, usually in psychiatry, it's like, okay, we're trying to figure out what's wrong. Like we know something is weird about you, so we're trying to figure out what exactly is weird about you, and we're trying to fix it. So I
That,
think even just that step of like telling someone, hey, you're different, but you're not, there's nothing wrong with you. That is such a huge acknowledgement
yeah,
of the being, just,
that
yeah.
exactly. And we're like, with that, we're creating a totally different world, all of us. If you just every day, like, we underestimate the impact we have on our world. We always think, oh, someone is greater than me, someone is better than me, someone knows more than me. Yeah, you might want to let go of that point of view and acknowledge like what impact you have on the world every time you choose more for you, and every time you choose more in the direction of what's true for you, what's
Mhm.
true for you as a being, not what you think is true for you. You actually create a different world. You don't change the world, you actually create a different world. And like, what if we don't underestimate that and just like ask more for the acknowledgement of, okay, if I choose more freedom, if I choose to not give a, crap or whatever you can say online, um, about what other people's point of view is, then wow, that is huge. That
Yeah.
is huge because it's always like people have such a stress of how productive can I be? How can I make more money? How can I do this? How can I do this? It's like, be more. Like,
Mm.
stop censoring everything you do and
Mm.
everything. Did I do this right? Did I say the right thing? Don't worry, that's already the past. Every thought ties you back to the past rather
Yeah.
than you creating something that actually works for you.
And I think for me, it's always that weird thing how differently we see ourselves. Than, for example, when I think about friends, the friends I feel the most me around are those that are just like without a filter. So there
Mm,
will be moments where I'm like, okay, this person is a bit annoying right now, but then I'm just like, okay, it's like annoying for 2 minutes, but I'm not making that person wrong for it. And
yeah.
I feel so comfortable around them because I know even also me, I can just be myself. I don't have to,
Yes.
I can let out all my craziness and it's okay. um,
Exactly. And
but
it's
with
not.
ourselves, we try so much to like portray this image of like, no, I'm not. Like you were saying, I'm a little bit crazy, but no, not too much.
Yeah, but that's interesting because all the people who are like having some kind of job or a business or like make money in some way, what I've seen is like they know, like, so many people that are interested in pragmatic psychology or any of these modalities, they're like, they know somewhere they're different. Otherwise, they wouldn't even, bother listening to something like this or reading the books or something. So they know somewhere, okay, I am different. There is something to me that I haven't even started to explore, or explored a little bit, because there's so much more to explore to you than you've ever acknowledged. But then they start, and then they have a job, or work with other people. They're a coach or a facilitator or a business person or whatever. And then what do? Like, okay, I can't be crazy if I want to make money. I can't be crazy if I want to have clients. I can't be that different and crazy when I want to attract customers. Well, let me,
How does it work for you?
yeah, exactly. It's actually exactly the opposite. If I would have that point of view, which I had in the past and I got over it, thank God. If I would have had that point of view, I would have never been able to create pragmatic psychology, have a worldwide business, be successful, or do anything, or write the books that are out there. I wouldn't have been able to do that. It is because I'm willing to be weird and different in public, that this is actually possible. And I've seen this over and over again. Like when I was working in psychiatry, the woman at the reception, when the so-called patients, creatures of difference, came to the reception, the receptionist would ask, so what kind of therapy would you like? And they're like, I don't know. I just want to feel better. Yeah, but what kind of therapy do you want? Cognitive, psychodynamic, psychoanalytic? No, no, no. I want to feel better and I want to go to this person. Yeah, no, it's not about the person, it's about what. And it's always the same discussion. And then the people that came to me, they said, you know what, I've done so many different things, I've done so many different therapies, I'm done with normal, I want something different, even if it's like, if I don't get it, but I just want this to work, and please go for it. And they came because I'm not normal, because I do things different. That's what makes this interesting. So, like, what if you let, like, all of you listening, what if you let go of the lies that you can only be successful, make money, and have customers and clients and so-called like weird followers, whatever, it's just a weird name, on social media, if you are a little bit different but not too much. So there's a different ball game out there. There's a whole different possibility out there where you turn it up and be the inspiration to the world that you actually can be. And
And
for
also,
that,
we can acknowledge maybe that there's a lot of crazy people out there. So even if you let out your crazy, you can attract all the other crazy people in
yeah,
the world.
and it's like we say, and there's a difference between crazy, manic, I want to prove something with my crazy, because that's not what we're talking about. Like, you know what I mean? It's like this, I'm so crazy, and they're like over the top crazy, but they want to prove something with their craziness. They don't want to change. It's not about being different. It's about doing crazy, not being crazy different. But like, you will attract the people who are actually willing to have, like, relax into their difference and their crazy and use it.
And
as
receive you, right? You'll have people who are open to receiving what you have to offer. Like, I
that.
think that's the, yeah.
That, and that's a really, really important point that you just said, Anna, the receiving. Because it's like, how many of you have not been received or didn't want to be received? Yeah. So what if you receive you and then allow yourself to be received with everything you are? And yeah, so what we're inviting you guys to is to explore more of that, and to learn more about how is all of this craziness a gift, and how can you use it? What is behind all these diagnoses, and how can you facilitate yourself, and how can you facilitate other people to the gift beyond the diagnosis? So what we're having going on is, look at my, I'm proud, huh?
Well prepared.
I know. Oh my
Well
goodness.
prepared. And I think I just thought of, for me, for example, I never had a diagnosis of anything. I was very functional in school, I would say.
Yeah.
But still, now that I'm like, yeah, more changing my perspective and stuff, I'm more like, yeah, I would probably or could be diagnosed for some of those things. But just because I was, yeah, always having the lid on, I was very, like I said, like very functional in all like social aspects. And so there was no one ever who was like, oh, she's like publicly weird. We have to do something. But
Yeah,
still, I feel like it's such a
yeah.
big contribution.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. It's a capacity because for example, I was diagnosed while it's a funny thing. While I was practicing to do neuropsychological testings for other people, I went through the tests, and then I don't know how it's called in English, supervisor, or the person who
Mhm.
was helping me through the licensing process. He's like, Susanna, I do have to tell you that you do classify for ADHD. And I'm like, yes. And but I took it as a compliment because I learned that all of this is just a compliment. I'm like, yep, thank you. Every diagnose for me is an acknowledgement, an award for difference, and like, just like creativity, brilliance
Mhm.
in a way that might not be seen by others. And so I was not like shocked or anything. I'm like, okay, thank you. And then what you say about functional, I'm a functional ADHD. I can make people like I can look like I'm normal. Like I can like appear normal.
Mhm.
Like you can appear normal. You are like I'm a functional ADHD and a functional autistic person. And there's also people who are autistic or OCD or Asperger's or ADHD who are not functional, who need like assistance or help or need to find ways of making that work anyway, which there are ways, by the way. Um, but it's like there's also functional autistics. And this is a group that's a little bit, I'm just going to mention it because we're going to go more into it in the call. But
Mhm.
this is a group that's a little bit tricky because if you look normal, if you have the capacity to appear normal,
Mhm.
and other people project on you, oh, you're normal. Like I can totally like relate to you, like we're the same.
The
But
connection.
you're not, you're actually not normal. You're actually not like them. So that for many people creates a little bit of a conflict because they know they're not normal, but they know they can seem normal. And then they like try to like shove away their difference,
Mhm.
their superpowers of difference, which if they would instead acknowledge them and go, okay, I am both. I can appear normal, but I'm crazy. Like what's going on here is all over the place, but
Yeah.
I can like appear like I have it all together,
I love
but
how
I'm
you're like enacting it.
actually
We learn that in the call, right? How to hide your crazy.
like you learn normal faces. You have to use your hand. But it's like what's going on in your world and your being is like, but then you can learn how to acknowledge it and also use that to create
Mhm.
phenomena. So I'm really looking forward to this 3-part telecall. It's like, especially with the new tools and a new perspective, it's going to be bam. We're going to go through all the different diagnoses, like what capacities is there behind ADHD, OCD, burnout, autism, you name it. What's the research and how can you facilitate for yourself and other people? So,
Mhm.
yeah. And I had
And
heard people, I'm going to do this call another time. I'm not going to do this another time. Like, this is a very unique thing
yeah.
to join.
And I think, I mean, it's not needed, but also, yeah, especially I think in combination with the pragmatic practitioner class,
Yeah,
it's so amazing. But
it
this is a
is.
good start already.
Yeah. It is
Like,
a good start because we have in pragmatic psychology, we have a whole education that's called like education is not the correct, like it is an education in a way where it's called pragmatic practitioner, and you can do classes that are 3 days each. There's my fingers, 3 days each, where you can learn more about the art of facilitation of yourself and also in your work with other people and people coming to you with any kind of so-called problem or issue. We also have in those classes, like we practice facilitation on each other, so it's very like active, and it's like people say, wow, this is the education that they always wanted about working with other people, whether you're coach, facilitator, teacher, parent, whatever. And then there's a whole program called Pragmatic Practitioners, where we have a web page, people who are looking for others who work with pragmatic psychology and pragmatic practitioners. They are listed, so you can, people out there, clients can find you and they can, oh, there's someone in my area working with this, and then they can connect with you. We have calls together, we have events together. So there's a whole pragmatic practitioner program available, where you need some prereqs also to become that. But it's just a totally different universe of learning how to work with other people.
Yeah, it's great. Like you said, especially the practicing facilitation, it's so, yeah, you guys will see once you do it.
Exactly. It's very.
And also for these calls, we have different translations available. So even if you don't speak English, just check it out. Yeah.
We have Deutsch. We have Francés. We have Español. Italiano, amore. We have, I don't know how to say
I don't speak Mandarin.
No.
I'm very sorry.
We have Turkish. I don't know how to say Turkish in Turkish. Yes. So
you have Hungarian, right?
We have Hungarian, yes.
Yeah.
And maybe some more. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yes.
Coolio.
So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you all.
Yes, we do. You're such a gift. It's so cool. Like, you are such a space where it's like,
you too. And everyone watching also.
Yes.
That's so great, right? That in all these classes, it's always about celebrating the gift we are. It's so cool. Like, it's so different from any other kind of program.
Yep. Yeah. That's true, because so many programs about your shit. We show you how to be less shit. Thank you very much. Now pay us. So no, that's not what we do.
No. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Look forward to next week. Yes.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.